Welcome, parents. I'm Pastor Lisette. This is Pastor Nick. We are so thankful you've chosen to join us for week 2 of what we titled Parent Connect. We are so thankful that you've come and chosen to better yourselves as parents.
Today we're going to continue our series that we started last week titled 12 Huge Mistakes That Parents Can Avoid. Last week we focused on mistakes 1, 2, and 3. This week we're going to focus on mistakes 4, 5, and 6 by Dr. Tim Elmore. Thank you so much for choosing to better yourself. Please watch this video.
Mistake number 4, we are inconsistent. You probably intuitively know what I'm about to say, but I want to start with a story on this one. My wife and I noticed when our kids were growing up that they went through a stage where they had bad attitudes. I mean, a lot of bad attitudes. They were talking back to us when they had been trained not to talk back to their parents. Several things were going awry, things that were different than what they had been instructed along the way. And then my wife and I started looking at our own parenting, and we noticed that we, in this case, were probably the culprits. We noticed that a rule of thumb was beginning to happen. We had set some standards or some rules in our house, but then we were caving on those rules. If we said be in bed by 9, we were allowing them to stay up till 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock. We said this, but then we did that. And all those insecurities, even though we weren't robbing banks or anything like that, those inconsistencies were breeding insecurities. In fact, we started noticing that a few little uncertainties create a few big insecurities in kids. I don't know if there's anything kids need more outside of love than a consistent home. In fact, I think it doesn't even really matter whether you're strict or unstrict as long as you're consistent in what you lay down as the standard for the home. You see, when we're consistent, it breeds security. They have boundaries. They know where they stand. They know what their space is. And when they don't have that, it creates a very insecure kid that starts looking for love in all the wrong places. So to correct this one, it's pretty simple. Easier said than done, but find the standards that you want to embody in your home. If you're married, talk to your spouse and decide on these, and then consistently model them, embody them, and present them in your life to your own children. Mistake number 5, we remove the consequences. Now, I bet you've seen this. Far too often, we as moms or dads see our kid get in trouble or they fail to remember to do something, like take their backpack into school or get that permission slip signed, or they forgot their gym shoes or something like that. And instead of saying, well, there are consequences to your forgetting or your failing, we remove the consequences. We rush that backpack into the school. We rush that permission slip in, or somehow we negotiate with the teacher so our child gets out of trouble. You and I both know that while that makes them happier today, it's going to make them unhappier in the future. Here's why. It leads to short-term benefits, but long-term consequences. You and I both know in life, there are consequences to actions. In fact, so many consequences that if our child lives 15, 16, 18 years under our roof with no consequences, it is an abrupt change when they move into the adult world and their boss has consequences when they don't make the sale or do what they're called to do. In fact, I think on this one of the biggest problems is we are parenting for the short term, not the long term. I know a mom that did this beautifully. In fact, she corrected this mistake in her own life, and it led to great, great benefits later. Her daughter, who was in middle school, had forgotten to get a permission slip signed, and so she called home and said, "Mom, I need you to rush the permission slip in. I forgot to bring it, and if I don't get it today, I'm gonna have to run laps around the gym." This mom's response was perfect. She said, "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry if you forgot to bring the permission slip in. But I can't come down right now. I'm with somebody right now. And you know what, honey? You could use the exercise around the gym." Well, that did make her daughter smile at that moment, but later her daughter, as a young teen, said, "Thank you so much. I'm so much more ready for high school than my friends are." I want to encourage you, correct this mistake. You and I both know that life has consequences. And so my correction on this one is less rules, more equations. Meaning, in our home with our kids growing up, we had very few rules. We had lots of equations. You know what an equation is. If you do this, that's the benefit. If you do that, This is the consequence. But you let these benefits and consequences play out, and they learn to live with the outcomes of their decisions. Mistake number 6. We lie about their potential, and we don't explore their true potential. Now, let me tell you what I mean by this. Have you noticed that we live in a day of hyperbole? Everything seems to be exaggerated. Our words are, we text somebody with 16 exclamation points or emojis everywhere. We say the word awesome all the time. Have you noticed how many things are awesome today? It's incredible. And we do it with our children as well. We say that was amazing when all they did was an effortless act. We say that was awesome when all they did was put their fork in the dishwasher. You get my point. We exaggerate our compliments or our words, and it starts creating actually a distorted view of themselves. Now, yes, our kids are special. Of course, they're loved by us. But when we start using this hyperbolic language, they start growing up and they start questioning our judgment. In middle school, they're going, Mom says I'm awesome. Nobody else is saying I'm awesome here. And they start wondering, is this an illusion I've been given? Here's what I've come to believe. I had a mentor say this to me, and I fully believe it. Our kids will not become disillusioned unless they're first illusioned, meaning we somehow gave them an illusion that they're going to be the next American Idol, or they're going to play outfield for the New York Yankees or whatever. And I say, it wouldn't be better if we loved on them, but we're very truthful about their gifts or where they don't have gifts? I think we owe it to them to do this now when the stakes are low. And all it might be is a couple of tears, not a paycheck or a loss of a job because they were disillusioned about what they were supposed to be doing. So this one's huge. It's actually produced a phenomenon in the world today called quarter-life crises. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. I bet you've heard of midlife crises. We baby boomers went through midlife crises years ago. Quarter-life crises is about the growing number of 25-year-old young adults who are going into clinical depression. And they're seeing a therapist because they didn't get the perfect job at 25, get the perfect spouse at 25, make $1 million. And it was because they had such high expectations of perhaps a place they didn't even have a gift. So to correct this one, help your child find their gifts and affirm them in the area of those gifts and watch them bloom in a healthy way.
Wasn't that such great, incredible content by Dr. Tim Elmore? Man, I'm so encouraged as a parent every time I watch these. So I want to review real quick mistakes 4, 5, and 6. Mistake number 4 is that we are inconsistent. The biggest thing as parents that we need to do is be consistent, which is so hard in this current season of quarantine because I feel like all the rules in my own house have been thrown out the window. Bedtime routine out the window, school time out the window, even eating time out the window. And it's so hard not to let the TV be the third parent in the household. And so what we need to do as parents is to be inconsistent but be consistent in what we do. Mistake number 5 is that we remove the consequence sometimes as parents. I don't know about you, but when I look at my children, I think they're perfect. And if anyone were to come against them, I would do everything in my power to make sure that they were okay and they were defended. But part of growing up and learning is that we have to let our children experience the consequences. We have to let our children experience the things that they do wrong so that they know how to correct it in the future. And finally, mistake number 6, we lie about their potential and don't explore their true potential. Just like Dr. Tim Elmore said in the video, everything is awesome and everything is great and everyone gets a trophy no matter how they do or they don't do. People get ribbons for 14th place, which doesn't make any sense. But what we need to do is challenge and encourage our kids that if they're not performing well and doing well, that's okay. We just need to direct them in the right way and in the right technique, in the right way so that they can flourish. And it's okay to not say that they're awesome all the time. And it's okay to seek improvement from them. But man, what great lessons that we learned from Dr. Tim Elmore.
Thank you so much for joining us, parents. We are so glad that you're choosing to better yourselves. We champion you. We just want to remind you that this video will come out every Friday. You'll receive an email in your inbox. If you're not receiving those emails, we ask that you direct message us so we can get those out to you. Just again, we champion you, we're encouraging you, we're praying for you, and we'll see you again next week.